Your Spotify year wrap. Who was the most streamed artist for 2022? Do you remember?
I don't use Spotify.
You don't?
No.
Apple Music?
I use Apple Music.
Who's your artist? Do you remember?
Okay, this is like gonna be so weird, but it's actually like one of the artists I work with. It was Portion, yeah. And I actually was like one of his top like most listeners, and I sent him a screenshot. I was like, hey.
That's amazing.
That's how you know.
Shout out to you. What about your top favorite Super Bowl performance ever for you?
I would have to say the Beyonce.
Beyonce?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Shakira and Jennifer Lopez. Actually, Jennifer Lopez.
Yes, you're not wrong. That was a killer performance.
Dope, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty dope.
It was pretty good. The whole Latin gang.
Let's get started. Entrepreneur, founder of Toronto Sound Studio and LRL Management, independent artist management company providing development management service to unique talent. Member of Country Music, Songwriting, and Mexican American Music Association. LRL roster has over 7 million global streams by 2022, and the company is still expanding. Episode 45, you know what time it is. Cito, Lari in the building. Thank you so much for having me here at amazing studio here, which, is it open to the public yet?
As of right now, no. We just utilize it for our roster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Came to Canada in 2018, and you have 5 years of being in the music business. Bring us back to you living in Texas, and share the moment when you committed to pursue your business career here in Canada. And why Canada? Why move to Canada? Let the people know.
Okay, so the moment that I knew that I was going to be in the music industry, I vividly remember this day. I was 11 years old,
right? And
I was in middle school, and I was in our school choir, and I walked by this poster by Miss Bell. Shout out to Miss Bell. Miss Bell's office, and it was a poster for Full Sail University, which is a university for like recording arts. It's a really major, well-known university in Florida. And that day I was like, that's where I'm gonna go. So in Texas, you are required to take an admission exam to go into any university or college in Texas. But I knew that that's the school I wanted to go to, and that was in Florida. So I kept telling my parents that I was gonna study music for a living, and they're like how you are, of course you're not. So as I got older, I applied to Full Sail my junior year. I wasn't even a senior, and I got admitted early.
Wow.
So when I got in, they sent me an entire like care package, like a backpack, t-shirt. It was really cool. And on top of that, they gave me a scholarship for, I think it was like 45 grand or something like that. Yeah, I qualified for scholarships. Shout out to Florida, because they have like a program, if you're Latin, like it's like a program for students of like minorities, right? They identify as minorities. So that was amazing. That was incredible. And so I was like, okay, well that takes like a big chunk of like what the tuition would be, and I just had my mind very set on this school, and I knew it was going to be expensive and stuff. So when I get to my senior year, I graduate high school, and I remember telling my parents like, hey, like I'm gonna be going to this university, I'm gonna be moving to Florida. And I was 17 at the time then, and of course they were like, no, you're not. So
even with this chunk,
yeah, even with that,
really?
yeah. Well, like at the top, like tuition is just over the top. Like that's not even like 1/3 of the a year. Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Everybody like that lives in America knows like university, it's like a business, right? Because a lot of them go into student loans. Like it's a ton of money. And not only did they not support it, they were like we don't want to. They kind of saw it as like a waste of money per se,
right.
Because they're like, that career is like very 50-50, like, so you're just gonna drown in student debt. And they were mostly concerned for me, but I was very, the Spanish word is necia, very persistent. I was like, no, and I told him, if I don't go to this university, I won't go to college at all.
Wow.
Like, I was like, I won't even get a degree. I was like, you'll have me living at home forever.
Wow.
To
Necia is the word, though, for all my Latinos out there.
It is. But I know, like, for my dad, it was, like, actually more, like, he was more concerned about me not getting an education. He's like, okay, I'd rather she get her degree in this than not get one at all. Because he knows, and he knew that for the love of God, I would not go anywhere else. And so...
Yeah.
So he was like trying to be still very persistent and saying no, like, especially because you're 17, you're not moving across the country by yourself, you don't know anyone in Florida.
Good point.
Like, that's dangerous, you're gonna be so far from us. And I was like, well, like, I'm still doing it. So one night they were sleeping, and if my dad watches this and I remind him of this, he's gonna be like, little
shout out to Pops.
you. But they were sleeping, and like, I opened their room door super quietly. I crawled through the bottom of the bed, like, kind of like made my way to the drawer where I knew his wallet was.
Wow.
I know.
You went to this extent. That's
I went
crazy.
to the extent. I took some photos of like the credit card, the ID, or like banking information. I know, I felt terrible, Dad. Like, I really wanted this.
Crazy.
I really wanted this. So I booked myself a flight utilizing his credit card. And I was just like, I'm just gonna go, and I booked a hotel for a week, and I was like, I'll find like the student house, like, I'll figure it out as I go. But I was like, whatever. So he comes into my room, like, I'd say like the day after or 2 days after, and I'm packing like this big suitcase, and he's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm moving to Florida. And he's looking at me like hell you are. And then my mom's like, I'm getting these like bank alerts, like, what is this? And I was like, I told you guys, like, I'm going to Florida, like, see you later. And my dad's face just like, he just froze, like, his face just went white, and he's already very like white looking, white hair, like, his face was just terrified. And my mom, I thought my mom was gonna yell at me, but she said that it showed dedication and a lot of persistence. So she looked at my dad, and she's like, well, get me a plane ticket too, because I'm coming with you, like, I'm gonna go drop you off, and if your dad doesn't want to go, then we'll just go ourselves. And I was like, okay, because she knew that I really wanted this, and she got really emotional about it. And till this day, like, she is still, like, I would say, like, my backbone. Like, I can rely on her for so much when it comes to this. Like, she'll actually be proud of me even though she doesn't really understand.
Absolutely.
Like I actually made like this like joke on TikTok with that like viral TikTok that's like the Lightning McQueen, and they're like cheering for you. And
okay.
Yeah, and they're like cheering for you. So
there's like an audience of people like cheering for you too. Okay, I got it.
So it was like, I posted it, and I was like, my parents cheering me on even though they don't know what I do for a living. And people thought it was hilarious.
That's amazing.
They don't like really know to the extent. I guess I don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
Or explain it as much as I should. But yeah, so that's how I started. Back to what I was saying.
Wow.
That's how I moved to Florida. I made that move to Florida. I was there for about I'd say almost a year. So you can get an associate's degree by completing just a certain amount of credits, and it had nothing to do with time, actually. It was just credits.
Okay.
So I was able to do that. But when I was there, I did the audio production program and like engineering and production.
Right.
And I walk into the classroom, and there's like 200, 300 students in one big lecture, and out of those there's like 2 females. Like, I'm not even kidding. So of course, it's obviously, I knew it was a very male dominated industry.
Right.
And it just like, I kind of wish that I wouldn't have let that discourage me then, but I did. And I was also very young, and I was running through like my tuition money. I was like, it was just not a good, it was first time living alone.
Yeah.
Driving myself to Miami on the weekends.
Young.
Yeah. Just being so responsible that my parents had to be like, okay, like, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this at like your own expense, or figure out what you want to do with your life, because music is not it. And you're kind of like utilizing this opportunity that we're giving you, and
Right.
they didn't kind of see like the results that they expected.
Right.
per
Well
se, right?
said.
Yeah.
Well
yeah,
said. Well said.
because it's the truth. Like I honestly did a lot of things wrong in that period of my life. But like I said, I was like 17. I was like, I get to live in Florida by myself, no parents.
Wow.
They dropped me off there with a car and a credit card, so I just like went crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
what any 17-year-old would do, right?
Yeah.
But this also, you know, everyone watching it can relate to anyone watching. You know, you being in the artistry world, creative world, even myself, you know, my parents, like, they still don't understand this, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's important to, you know, fulfill what you feel, you know, what you're meant to do, right?
Yeah.
So that's incredible for a 17-year-old. It really shows that you already, you know, you had this in you, you know, from a young age, right? So at this point, though, when was the transition that you said, I'm going to go to Canada now?
Okay, so from there, I went and I did an internship and course at a recording studio in Monterrey, Mexico.
Okay.
I wasn't like, I can speak Spanish, but I would say like relocating there really helped me like kind of like gain the confidence and talking to a lot of people. Because even when I was first there, like I could tell like the girls sometimes kind of make fun of me just because some like they think of you like very whitewashed. But I'm like, no, I'm Latin, but it's just because like I learned English when I was little, like my first language basically. I'm a native speaker, so it was like a lot. And I was sitting in the studio and I was like, I want to go back to school. And I don't know if we're allowed to talk about like God and stuff, but like I'm a religious person, so I felt like how everything happened was kind of like aligned with like God's plan, I would say, because I remember by then I had turned 18. I was 18 in 6 months specifically, because I remember my dad coming back. He came to visit me in Monterrey, and he said, hey, like we're gonna go have lunch with one of your uncles, and he is one of like the board members at a university in Monterrey that's like very, like it's like a really good school.
Yeah, good reputation.
Good reputation, well. Yes.
Awesome.
And my dad was like, he can get you in. Like, just go show up, even if you don't pass the test, he can get you in. And I was like, well, for what career? And he's like, at this point, he was like, I'm only paying for tuition if it's the degree that he wanted.
Right.
So it's what he wanted for me. And so I was like, okay, like I've got nothing to lose, you know. I was kind of like allowing myself to like pursue this other career, and that was it was criminology, actually. So I had to study law first. Yeah, and my uncle was like, I'll get you in, and you're gonna be taking the law classes prior to transitioning into like what field you want to work on specifically, because that's kind of like how that university was designed. And my dad's like, you're committing to 4 years here. And the thought of it scared me, but I didn't want to make him unhappy, and I didn't want to have to like go through that like struggle with him back and forth. We weren't in like the best place, because at the time I was also in my period in Monterrey, I was dating someone there that wasn't so good for me. So he was already like, I was kind of like walking on eggshells. And dads always know best. I swear to God, the day that I introduced him and I was like, Dad, this is the guy went like this, my dad literally just turned around, like didn't even shake his hand. He looks at me, he's like, no.
Really?
That's all he said. Yeah. My dad was like, no. But my dad was 100% right.
You didn't question your dad at that point, right? Like you just let
No. I did up until it came with like the school stuff, because I knew like that he wasn't gonna support me in anything unless I kind of took the direction that he wanted.
Right.
Which honestly, like at the time and being so young, you'd think like, oh, like he's just doing this to like, he's not allowing me to be who I am or whatever. I was taking it the wrong way, but ultimately I know that he just wanted what was best for me, because that's what every parent does. Yeah. And so he was like, you're gonna get into the school, like your uncle is gonna help us, like, you know, try your best in I know like the Spanish portion of it was like really difficult at the time, because like my grammar in Spanish still was not the best till this day. But, it's not the best.
Yeah.
But got like a perfect score on the English portion of the exam.
Right.
So that was something. And my uncle was like, yeah, we had lunch with him, and he's like, yeah, don't worry, hun, like I'm gonna get you into school, like you'll be fine, because there was a lot of applicants. And at the same time, I found this school in Toronto that I had my eye on called the Harris Institute, which is where I went. Shout out to John. And I had seen the cost of tuition, which was so much less here. So that is one of the main reasons I moved to Toronto.
Okay.
The career that I wanted in Florida for the 4 years, like the amount that I was paying here in tuition, like wasn't even like, it was like pennies
of what you
compared to what I would have had to pay in the States and in USD.
Right.
And so I had showed my dad, and he's like, you can apply, and then you could apply for the student visa, like do the process. And I did it all by myself. And then I got in and I got my visa by myself.
Wow.
But before that, I keep jumping back and forth.
All good, all good. Spread it up. All good.
So before that, when I was still in Mexico, and I was about to start this new chapter of my life and like this new field that I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as this. My uncle calls my dad, and he said, hey, like he's like, I am so sorry, but I wasn't able to get her in. Like even though he's always had like the power of like admission, so like just throwing that out there very lightly. Even though he always has like a say, and like he can usually help like bring students onto this university, he was like, this year was just like overly saturated with applicants, and like no matter, like I'm allowed to bring in one person for a year, like I wasn't able to do that for her this year. He's like, I am so sorry. And I kind of like smiled, and I was like, oh, what a shame. You know, like that's so sad. That same week I got my letter from Harris, from Canada Immigration, and I was like, this is it. Yeah, this is the answer.
That was meant to be.
I moved here. Yeah, and by then I was what, 19, 20? Yeah.
Wow.
20. Yeah, 19.
There you go. Beyond the Views podcast, episode 45, featuring no other, Lari in the building, artist management, A&R, business, you name it, that's her. We here now. Thank you for sharing the story.
Yeah.
Come up is real. The struggle is real. Now, this is also what I want to ask you. So, artist management is not easy. Even though a lot of people out here think that they can do that.
No, I had to go to school for that.
Yeah, there you go, right? I respect that. You went to school for it. This is what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
What is the most challenging aspect, though, you know, getting into the field that you're in? Like, what do you think is the most challenging part? It's tough. It's tough what you do.
I would say it's like getting everybody organized at the same time.
Okay.
In the sense that like sometimes like somebody's always running late or somebody can't make it. It's just like when the artists are like up and coming, sometimes the reality is they have to work, you know, a daytime job, and the other people that are also part of the team are also working, so it makes it a little bit difficult to gather everybody together in the same room at once.
Well said. Well said. I can see that being really difficult.
Yeah.
Where do you seek your inspiration?
I wouldn't exactly say that there's anyone out there that would be like, oh, I want to be like that person.
Okay.
Strange as it may sound, I just kind of like always wanted to be the person that I am, and then take things like the way that I see them, my path, and just learning, but not really following in anybody else's footsteps, just kind of like creating my own path. But I do get a lot of like my inspiration from just like peace within. I'd say I listen to a lot of the gospel music.
Cool.
I like the Christian, like I'm obsessed with the Newsboys. So
cool.
A lot of it, like I love that kind of music.
Right.
Like my parents always made us go to church every Sunday, and I like that music. And a lot of my peace and like ideas have honestly come from the times where like I sit with my headphones, I listen to that kind of music, and I reflect on what kind of life I want to live. And it's actually been a little bit of a conflict, because even like sometimes people think that rap and being a Christian, like it doesn't align within itself.
Right. So
there's been like those challenges. So just kind of like finding my own way around that, or finding a way to like have peace and not worry about what everybody else is gonna say,
right,
including my family. I know, like, sometimes for my
Amen.
family it's a big thing that they're like, you're in the music industry, and like, if the music isn't made for God, then you shouldn't be promoting it, or you shouldn't be doing it. Like, I get
Right.
this from my sister all the time. So that's, like, I guess that answers back your other question, like,
Yeah.
what challenges that I face. I would say that is one of them.
Okay.
And it does sometimes put me in conflict with myself, because I'm thinking, I was like, I don't want to live my life in a way that's like unhealthy, because obviously the music industry is very toxic.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the industry are always very sad,
Yeah.
lonely.
Yeah.
It's very lonely a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So just that whole lifestyle, it's very difficult to navigate and be in that lifestyle, like be invested in
You can
that
get
lifestyle.
lost.
You can really, yeah,
You can really get lost in it, so you got to stick to what you believe in, you know?
My faith is like what I would say that
I'm with
is
you on
where I
that.
get my inspiration.
Yeah.
But more than inspiration, I would say that's where I get my motivation, more than the inspiration.
Let's fucking go. let's bring them to an artist. Any of your artists, whatever song, whatever artist, just say it. Let's just play some music.
NF Portion Wave.
Let's fucking go. Boom, boom, boom. You know what time it is. Cito in the building, Lari in the building, episode 45. You know what time it is. The #1 podcast in the world. You know that. Do you currently have a team that assists you right now? Or are you like solo dolo, one woman army with what is going on in your life?
I would say, I mean, I have a team that I have access to, if that helps. So like with our artists that we're working with Portion, for example,
Okay.
there's like a whole team behind, so it's not just myself, which is great, because now we have like tools and resources that we can utilize to get this artist
Okay.
to where he really does belong. Like, he
Right.
is incredible. He is amazing. So yes, I would say in terms of that, there is that person. I do have a producer that I recently hired, per se. So there's a new producer that's going to be working with one of my clients. His name is Andrew. So
Shout out to
there's that. And then I would say also, like, my best friend, Maddie. Her and her partner, Alec, they're both event planners. So every time that I'm throwing events or I'm doing something music industry related, which we actually do have an event coming up in July or August. It's gonna be we're gonna be expanding our company, but I'll be posting more details about that later on. But yes, so Maddie and Alec are both event planners, and so I would say they're not only my best friends, they're like a huge part of, to me, like, my team, because I can rely on them. Like, Maddie is the first person that I call, and I'm like, hey, I have this contract, what do you think of this? I was like, I need to, like, she lives in Waterloo, and I'm like, I have to get to your house, like, now.
Right.
I need to tell you, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. What do you think is the best decision? Like, she is the person.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome. That's great.
she's actually my brain. She's behind it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I seen you. You conducted a speech. It seemed like an industry night at Clubhouse. Shout out to Maria, aka Fit Queen 416, who overlooks the whole Clubhouse. Maybe owns it. I'm not too sure, but I know that she had a bunch of artists there. Artists, A&Rs, you name it. Everyone was there. You were saying your speech. You're introducing LRL management. Tell us a little bit about that night, and where's that relationship? How did that come about?
Thank you, guys. As I was saying, my name is Lari. I'm the founder of LRL Management. We're an artist management company based here in Toronto. I started the company at the beginning of 2021 when the pandemic started. And my goal and my dream was always to work with artists, help the artists here in Toronto to develop. So I have an artist development program where I connect aspiring artists with producers. I bring them into the studio sessions.
With Maria, that came about That's actually the night that I met Maria.
Okay.
I told Maria. So this other guy, he runs 416 Media.
Okay.
He invited me to this event.
Shout out to 416 Media.
416 Media, shout out. And he gave me like a speaking opportunity because there was going to be other industry people, and it was a networking event. So
Amazing.
at the time I was working with this artist who performed that night too.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, awesome.
That's kind of how the connection came together.
Okay, cool. Well, it leads us to another artist, one of your artists. Let's play a song. What are we playing?
We can listen to Heathen by Athena Park.
Ah, let's go. What is your current involvement with the artist? Like, are you doing negotiating with all the contracts, your marketing, showings? What I mean by showings, sorry, I meant like show bookings. Are you fully involved? Or do you also, like you said, you have your close friends that also, charm in and they give you a hand whenever you need it? But are you really hands-on with each of them? Like your involvement?
So my involvement with them varies.
Okay.
Because for example, like if one of the artists that I work with is already signed to a label, that kind of everybody has their own department, everybody has their lane. I would say with Athena, because she's a fully independent artist right now, I carry all of the hats. So I do everything. Whereas an artist like Portion is just like being part of the management team in the sense where I'm like doing all the business stuff that a lot of people don't like to do.
yeah, a lot of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
A lot of behind the scenes, yeah, for sure. $1 million question for you. What do you look for in an artist? Artists that are watching right now?
I look for an artist who is not going to put me in that position of me wanting it more for them than they want it for themselves. They need to be in the studio every time that I tell them to be in the studio. Like I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh, I have to go to work for this and I'm going to be tired. And it's like, okay, I understand that everybody needs a job, but I do expect them to put as much effort into this than what I'm putting in, because I'm also putting in my time and resources. So I need them to be like, if you're off work at 5 and you need a nap, food, whatever, be at the studio by 7, at least come 2 hours a day, like something. Like I just have to see the commitment, and you have to actually really want it. Like I've worked with artists who are, I can honestly say they're not that talented, but they're hard workers, which means that they're gonna get to where I need them to get no matter what. Because sometimes, like, if you have talent but you don't work hard, like that doesn't work for me. It's not gonna do anything for me in the long run.
For any artist watching, what is like one advice you give an artist watching right now, like a key component that artist that maybe you're not seeing right now, not necessarily in Toronto only, but just in general with an artist? What would you say that be to maybe distinguish them from all the other 8 million artists in the world? What's like that little advice you can give them?
Originality, especially if you're based in Toronto. I swear I've seen the same music video over and over again. Like, get creative with finding new locations, new people to work with, because I'm like the music videos in Toronto for a lot of independent artists, like they're just, it's the same video, just different person. So that is like a huge thing for me. Like if I see something that's like very repetitive, that's already out there a lot, then I don't really like to waste my time watching, to be honest.
Juno Awards, red carpet. You were there. How was the experience like? That's amazing.
It was great. I got to be at the opening night gala, so that was incredible. And I brought Athena. Athena's actually my youngest artist right now, so she's my developing. She's very green. She's just getting started, but her work ethic is incredible. So I brought her to network, meet people. You know, it was very cool to be in the private gala, like with the artists. Everybody's there.
Right.
I'm preoccupied. There's no room for you in my mind. Your friends don't know that you missed out. I'm not gonna wait for you to open your eyes. Took too long, but I'm already gone. Don't you know that I can't slow down? Moving like a tutor, my time's like to roller, and they don't like cool. Oh, please don't come soon. Moving like a tutor, my time's like to roller, and they don't.
Right.
Weirdly enough, like my table was right next to my former boss, like he
No
from
way.
the record label that I interned at. Like he was the
Wow.
first person who gave me an opportunity in the Canadian music industry as soon as I graduated. Shout out to Mike Denny, MDM Recordings.
Wow.
And I saw him and I saw Carmen. And they manage, they work with Jess Moskaluk. So she's
Okay.
like Canada's, like one of the biggest Canadian country music singers.
Right.
Yeah, boy, you did me dirty. I left you in a hurry. Ain't seen you since goodnight.
Literally right behind me, and I just turned around and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Mike, like, hi.
Really?
It was really cool.
Awesome.
I loved the whole experience. I loved watching Athena build relationships too, because that for me was the most important thing, put her out there. I saw some of my former mentors from Harris there too.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
Comes around.
I saw Dave Quilico from Sony.
Okay.
Sony Music and Zach. It was amazing. Yeah.
Seems like a
Yeah.
networking night.
Oh yeah, it was incredible.
That's what it's all about. Can artists submit music to Junos?
Yes.
Guys,
Independent artists, yes. And if you
What are you
want to
waiting
know
for?
the whole process, feel free to DM me. I am more than happy to do that.
Instagram, DM, reach out. Beyond the News Podcast, episode 45, Lari, Cito. What I also want to know right now is, do you have your eye out for any Toronto artists currently right now?
I do.
Share it.
His name's Yaya.
Getting hard. No, I really fucked up cause a nigga really loved you, and I know I broke your heart. Like, why'd I break your heart?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
Okay.
gonna watch this and he's gonna be
Okay.
like, yeah, she did hit me with a contract not too long ago.
Really?
I did. I sent him a contract. I was like, I actually like Yaya, but Yaya also knows I have a lot of love for Yaya. I've brought him into the studio before. I've watched like his process and stuff, and yeah, he is the person that I've got my eye on next.
Lari, everybody's watching right now. A lot of artists are watching right now. What is the process for them to actually, apply with you or connect with you or inquire with you? A simple DM is not going to bring them anywhere, but it may lead to your attention. So let anyone know that's watching right now before we close off on, how they can reach out to you. A&R, artist management. You got a lot of services that you provide. You got a beautiful studio here that, you got a lot of resources, right? So let us know.
So through DM doesn't really work for me because I feel like it's very sometimes it can come off as very unprofessional, which just leaves like a bad
I agree.
view on like
Impression,
my
too.
impression on my side. Sometimes I'll get quite a bit of DMs that are like, yo, check out my music, like I'm looking for management, like yo, you should manage me, I can do a lot for you. And I'm like, okay, just send me an email. Sometimes I won't respond. There's actually one person in particular who's like bombing me with DMs and I wasn't answering, and he's like, you're just a hater. I get
Don't
those
do
messages.
that.
Like, you're just a hater, my music is so good. I got messages from people like, yo, like I am the next best thing, the next biggest artist coming out of Canada. And then I go to their Instagram, they got like 200 followers, they have like no social media interaction, and then to top it off, the music is terrible. Like at least and then sometimes I'll just go to it like out of curiosity, like I played Maddie a song that a guy texted me.
Yeah.
So somehow he got a hold of my phone number.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Creep.
yeah, and Maddie listens to it and she's like, dude, don't even do that to yourself. She's like, it's not even worth it. I'm like, geez, like she's full on savage mode. I would say the best way to reach me is honestly to send me an email. So that is on our website too, www.lrlmanagement.com, and my email is larissa@lrlmanagement.com. But yes, I've actually had a girl actually call me on the phone before and sing me a song.
Wow.
She full on started singing, and she was incredible.
Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Whoever that is.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of
Comment
sick.
down below.
Yeah, and
pretty dope.
even my mom in Texas, she said that somebody left a CD of like a demo of theirs in her mailbox.
Really?
Yeah, I was
Wow.
like, what? And she's like, yeah, they probably know I'm your mom. That was the craziest thing
That's so
she's told
cool.
me this year. I was like, but she liked the attention. I was like,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
I was like, now you like the attention. that was really sweet. She was really impressed that somebody did that. They're like, that's so cool. She's like, guess what was in the mail? She's like, it was a demo.
That's
I
amazing.
was like, who even does that anymore? That was cool.
Well, shout out to you.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
Whoever it was. I'll listen to it as soon as I get home because I'm heading home in 2 days and I haven't listened to it because it's CD.
Yo,
So-
send a picture.
Yeah.
We gotta add that. That's a real hustler right
Yeah, I'm gonna record my reaction to it and I'm gonna post it so everybody knows.
there. Amazing. Look, before we end off, pleasure to sit down with you. Got to know your story, got to know your journey. This is a really good intro for everyone that doesn't know who Lari is, and you know what she provides to the community, to artists. So if you're an artist out there, you know what time it is. Email, reach out, be hungry, be authentic, be yourself, love it.
Yeah.
And you know, she's always keeping her eye out, always keeping her ear open, and we're here for that. So we're gonna end off episode 45, huge episode here downtown Toronto, beautiful studio, LRL Management. You know what time it is, with an artist. So Siri, Fronteo, Bayona Santana, let's
Yeah.
go!
Dame un dembow para soltarme, que ya no estoy para darme. Con ese flow quieres dominarme, pero eso a ti no te sale. Me gusta lo básico, te bailo todos los clásicos. Que me vas a frontear si dura así 5 segundos como máximo. Soy fanática de lo explícito, ya no aguanto lo romántico.
Yeah.
Stop playing with me.